But once they got relatively stable and strong, they began to agitate, and they fought against the control of the new stolen lands, the red man's land, by their people back at home, the British kings and queens. And they were determined to not have exactly the same system that they criticized back in Europe. But it was very similar. They started talking about democracy, but again, it was a master race democracy. They started dealing with economics, and they went from feudalism to capitalism as an economic system, but it still had the same motive, profit over people. So in reality, young folks and adults, there was no such thing as an American Revolution. It was, as Kwame Ture, formerly Stokely Carmichael, told us, a question of two thieves fighting over the pot of gold, the red man's land. So they committed genocide against the native people. Now, if you just think I'm just talking, you know, something strange, there's a book that I had been given called American Holocaust, and this is how the book looks. And it deals with what happened to the native people. Now, I'm talking about the Navajo, the Apache, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Cheyenne, the Miami, the Illinois, the Massachusetts. Do those names sound familiar, dear people? Those were the names of native groups, ethnic groups. I hate to use the word tribe because that was a word that a Caucasian put on them and attached a bad odor to it, like they're uncivilized tribes. But they came to this land, committed genocide against the original owners of the land, settled their excess populations on it, and changed the name. The northern part of the continent became known as Canada. The middle part, the United States of America. Mexico was still Mexico, and of course some of the people, names were changed in Central and South America. Cortez, another murderer like Christopher Columbus, nearly wiped out the natives in Mexico to set up the Spanish European settler colony. And of course, you know, later on in time, the white folks took Texas, what is called New Mexico, and California from the Mexicans. That was all part of northern Mexico. So there's a lot of things that we've been bamboozled, hoodwinked, and tricked about that we need to shine the light back on. And again, our young people today in 2008 must know these truths. You know, truth is going to be just what it is. Hundreds of years later, you might kick it around, you might deny it, you might make fun of it, you might try to hide it, but it always resurfaces. So we got to understand something about the country in which we live, because if we know something about the true history of it, and its true tendencies, and the principles that animate it, we'll be able to understand this whole question of what to expect from a black president that we may get in the form of Barack Obama. But I want to lay the groundwork so we have an alternative understanding of just what America represents. Now, the folks that came from Europe did another evil. Not only did they vamp on the native people, commit genocide against the effective majority of them and take their land and change the name and create their own civilization over here, they did another thing. They sailed to Mother Africa, our homeland, militarily conquered large parts of Africa. We fought, we had victories, but we also had defeats. They then enslaved a once free, proud, and productive people, the so-called African people. That's us. Drug us over to these stolen lands in South, Central, and Northern America and made us work the land for free for 400 years, close to 400 years, at least 250 to 300 years. Stolen black labor morphed into white wealth. There's a book by Dr. Claude Anderson called Black Labor, White Wealth. That's a book that you should also get. And let me just pause here just to give some philosophical understanding. And I know that some of you young folks are, kind of oriented toward quick fixes. Y'all are into a lot of entertainment. You don't really want to study. You got more CDs than you got books. And we've been socialized into dancing our life away. A lot of times we don't want to really sit and begin to do some critical thinking. We've been trained to deal with instant gratification. We've been trained to diss our elders. We've been trained to be anti-intellectual. And I was like that a long time ago. But something happened to me. I'm born in Capricorn, and I'm a mental guy by nature, and I was able to break out of that social engineering that they have, especially for our youth and our people in general. We must endeavor to use our critical thinking skills and use our minds and get away from all of this instant gratification and fun and games. We must train ourselves to get between the covers of books, because many of the definitions, many of the proper analysis, and many of the solutions to our problems in society and the world, and even in our family, is in between the covers of books. Now we have, due to technology, we have audio tapes, VHS tapes, we got DVDs now. There's no excuse for us not to take some time out of our busy lives and begin to deal with some empowerment study to see what happened to us and what can be done to bust us out of this matrix that they seem to have us in, a matrix of oppression. We got to free our minds, then our behinds will naturally follow. But I want y'all to understand that looking at Mark's show on YouTube and on cable is one of the things that you should be doing as a regular thing in your life. We got to get knowledgeable, y'all, so that's what I'm trying to do with this segment that I've been granted. Now, again, in order to really understand the present, we're going to have to understand the past and kind of know what happened to us. Dr. Karenga of the organization US is a rich resource. I know he has been for me and thousands of others, and we have other leaders, both men and women, who had a lot of things important to tell us. Dr. Karenga does an article in the Los Angeles Sentinel newspaper in Los Angeles on a weekly basis. And I'm quoting just something briefly from an article entitled Reconceiving Our New Year Resolutions, Remembering Our Work in the World, and it was January 5th of '06. He said, and I'm quoting him again, knowing our past and honoring it, engaging our present and improving it, and imagining our future and forging it in the interest of our people and our well-being in the world is one of the main things we should be about. You can't have imagination for the future if you are ducking and dodging what happened in the past. So it's very important that we understand what happened in the past. We cannot properly understand this whole phenomenon with Barack Obama or go beyond just the emotionalism of it if we don't understand the past. So that's what I'm trying to root you in. Understand, dear people, that America, again, began as a multiracial, post-industrial, or it began as a European settler colony. But in this so-called present time, I describe it as a multiracial, post-industrial, regulatory, welfare, warfare nation state